Good evening. My name is Dr. Susan Feneck. I am the CEO and founder of Juvenile Justice Impact. Welcome everyone this evening. We have LaVana Colebrooke. She is the CEO and lead artist, and she's going to talk about the company that she owns and operates and how it functions, and she's going to be talking about maintaining mental health through artwork, and that is such a cool title for this podcast. LaVana, welcome to the show.
Hello, Susan. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad to be here with you tonight.
Well, thank you. How's everything going? How you doing?
Everything's going good, A little chilly in Vegas, but I heard the weather is a little crazy everywhere these days.
Yeah. They have all these flights that are being canceled because of ice and snow, and I'm thinking, you know what? We have to be careful that we're saying it's cold out when it's in the 60s.
Oh, yes.
Because you look on the news and they'll be like, "Oh, really? You want to talk about cold?"
True.
So tell us about your company, the name of it, and how you found it, and all of this great artwork you're doing. I can't wait to post the pictures. They're just beautiful.
Well, thank you so much. I'm glad that they brought a smile to your face.
I love
always
them.
Makes me happy. Yes. It always makes me happy when people look at my artwork and they feel either inspired or joyous. So the name of my company, of my art studio, is called Fanimation Studios, Fanimation Studios. And we're an art studio that focuses on creating beautiful black and brown illustrations and characters. So our main focus is creating beautiful black and brown characters and illustrations for children's books, pictures books, you name it. And the company was first founded actually when I was studying abroad in China between 2015 to 2020. And when I started in China, it was mostly just doing logos for people and for their businesses, because there's a lot of entrepreneurship there in
Sure.
China with a lot of the foreign students.
How did you wind up going to China?
I got a scholarship, so I'm
nice.
Bahamian American. I'm Bahamian American, and that means that even though I was born in America, my parents, who are both from the Bahamas, they also have American citizenship. Through them, I'm able to also be a Bahamian, dual citizenship and everything.
Right.
So there was an opportunity to do a full-paid scholarship to go and get my PhD.
Oh, wow.
And I chose diplomacy because why not? China's the best place to learn about it, especially with international relations.
Sure.
So I went there, and I started doing it when a couple of my friends wanted a couple of logos for their businesses, for their online things that they did. And me being a digital artist, because Fanimation Studios does all their artwork digitally, as you'll see with the illustrations that are posted on the website, on the website and everything, I was able to make it for them, and then I just broadened more into like portraits and graphic design for them, and then I got my first ever children's book client when I was in China, who was also a student, and it's such an interesting story because she went through the exact same thing I went through, because she was also a student in China and experienced the whole pandemic and the whole lockdown situation too. And that's really where it all begins, with the whole mental health and art.
Isn't it something? Your friends were asking you to do all of this artwork, and it turned into this incredible piece of work that you have, this incredible company you have, and you're like, geez, thanks guys. Thanks for thanks for needing all of this artwork initially, because look what it turned into. That's awesome.
Yes, and that's another great thing about it, is that it was like a mental boost for myself, like a mental self-esteem boost, because
Sure.
when you're an artist and you make your work, you're like, oh, it looks all right, it's okay, and then other people look at it and they're like, wow,
Yeah.
this is amazing.
Right. Isn't that always the case?
It is.
It really is.
It was such a great boost. It really was.
Oh, I love it. So do you keep in touch with these the friends that you initially were making some of these images for?
Oh yes, we're still all friends because all of us were located mostly in the same city in China, and so we all just, when the pandemic hit and everything, we all experienced that, and then we went our separate ways back to our country. Some stayed in China to finish their education. I came back to America apparently, but we still keep in touch.
That's
we
nice.
Still keep in touch.
Are they still asking you for design work?
What they do now is they just like help share my stories, and they support my business since I turned it into a full-time art studio and everything. So they when they send me reminders of the images they made, it's like, don't forget when you become famous.
Right? Or they're going to ask you to sign some of the designs that you did way back in the day and say, I knew her when, right?
Exactly. I'll probably be that artist who'd be like, oh, that's one of my older pieces. You know, that wasn't so bad. I can sign this.
Yeah, it wasn't so bad after all.
It wasn't so bad. No.
So when we were coming up with a title for the podcast, you said maintaining mental health through artwork. And I couldn't agree more. I believe that artwork just gives you such a sense of creativity and a sense of accomplishment. And I can understand how you were calling the title, Maintaining Mental Health Through Artwork. How would you describe, what does that mean to you exactly?
So for me, it is a form of stability.
Okay.
And also a form of outlet for your emotions, because this whole journey of creating Fanimation studios, like really bringing it up, because I've been doing art since I was little, but really turning it into a children's illustration company for digital artwork and picture books, that didn't really start until the pandemic. And so my company grew with me while the world was in lockdown.
Isn't that incredible? And you were in China, of all places. How did that? Because you said, previous to this podcast, you were thinking there was a lot of people in China who thought that they just had like the common cold, and then it turned into this global pandemic. What was that like, knowing that this is not the common cold that everyone's getting? Was that such a shock for you and your friends?
It really was a deep shock. And for those who are listening, just a bit of information here. The city I was in was Wuhan, China.
Oh my goodness. Of all places, you're like, of all places. And what was that like? Like you wake up and the structure of the city and what was opening and closing and the panic. How was that? That must have just been so frightening.
It really was scary. I remember a week of fear. That's what I call it, the week of fear, where they dropped the news on us and suddenly we couldn't leave our apartments or our homes. We had to stay indoors, and the virus was like evolving, being from something that you could catch when you ate something, or be caught to the animals, and then suddenly it was airborne. It was just very terrifying. Then you would see the images of people in the hospitals, and they built a hospital within within a week.
Oh my goodness. Well, they had to probably really out of necessity, right?
Yes, it was out of necessity, because they actually, during the very beginning of the pandemic, it was really bad, especially in China. Like, it was very serious. So it was a whole week of fear and uncertainty, and there's a lot of PTSD during that time.
No, I believe there still is now. Because it's been 2 years? Well, I don't know the exact date, but it's been around 2 years now, and so many people have lost people have gotten sick, jobs, businesses closing, friends and family losing jobs, all the stress. It's completely exhausting. Having to wear the mask, then you don't have to wear the mask, get one vaccine, then two, then three, then four, and it's just, it's taxing on the people, even who have a healthy mind, so can you imagine someone who's already suffering from depression or anxiety, imagine the severity of that impact.
Yes, and that's why art was such a very good way to relieve stress and to relieve any tension or uncertainty that I had in my body, because after that week of fear, I woke up one day and I was like, I'm tired of living in fear and uncertainty. This is not doing anything for my mental health or for my body. So what did I do? I turned to my art. I said, what can I do to help people during this time, to bring people together when we were the first country to be in lockdown and to be separated from each other? Because China has billions of people.
Right. And what was that like? I mean, your friends and family must have been calling you, panicking, wondering and scared if you're okay or not.
They were really concerned. They really were.
Sure.
I say concerned now because, we all experienced it.
Right.
We all experienced it where our loved ones were locked up and, locked up in their houses.
Right.
Locked up in their houses, uncertain of how they are, if they have any food and stuff. For my parents kept their prayers coming. They kept calling me. It was really good to contact them. And then, so while all of that was happening with them, I was getting really encouraged. And so I started to go to my art, and I called this, I started something called Wuhan Love Notes.
Oh, okay.
And it's where I took an image of my hands, and I did some popular, love signs that were in China during the day, making the heart sign and everything. And it was to spread positivity and light in the presence of fear and darkness.
Wow, that's incredible.
It was very incredible. And I sent it to my friends, and I said, hey, let me know of any positive words you want to send out to Wuhan, anything positive and inspiring you want to say. And because my artwork is digital and was digital at that time, I was able to take all of their comments, post it, and share it with them, and they were able to share it with others. It got to the point where later on in my story, when I talk about my time and when I came back to America, it had actually reached a school in, I believe, South America, and the teacher said, hey, we saw your Wuhan love notes, we were really inspired by what you did, and they sent me, just thinking about it makes me teary-eyed. They sent me images of their Wuhan love notes, of all the positive things that the children for that classroom made.
That is so incredible.
It was.
And were you able to Zoom and talk to them or communicate in some way? And
well, I was able to, because they're younger children, I wasn't really able to talk with them like that, but I kept in contact with
the teacher. Yeah.
The teacher, and they sent me the images, and I was able to take those wonderful, loving, positive affirmations and words from these children literally across the world who we never met and didn't know much about Wuhan, but just wanted to pray for Wuhan and send positive vibes.
Oh, my
I sent it to my friend who does digital videos, and she turned it into a video, and so it just shows.
Oh, how nice! Right, like that. The pictures just keep going into a video. How wonderful!
Yes, and it shows the images of when the pandemic first came out in China, how people were still, how they show those videos of people in their homes and they're still connecting to their neighbors across the balcony and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
They had it in China, and she put those encouraging videos and scenes in there and turned it into this beautiful piece.
Oh my God, that's priceless. It's priceless.
It is.
Oh, I love
really
it. I would love to see that video.
I will definitely send it to you.
How inspiring. And to think, because you never know the work that you're doing, who's listening, who's watching, who's reading, you never know. I mean, we have thousands and thousands of listeners, and, and thank God. I mean, the whole point of this podcast is to help, to heal, to educate, to make people feel as though, there's so many people that have come on that have talked about different struggles, and just to make someone, just to help, even if there's that one person out of all the thousands of listeners that we have, it helps one person feel inspired and not alone, then it's worth all of our time and efforts, and it's just been so incredibly rewarding, and we have people on like yourself. And but getting back to China, how was it? I mean, were they just like, okay, you've got to leave the country, and how did you get out of there without getting sick?
Okay, so in the beginning, if everyone remembers, they said that the symptoms of the virus was flu-like symptoms with a very bad cough. So what do people normally do when they have flu-like symptoms, but they still have to go to work and school?
They go get NyQuil, DayQuil, they get Gatorade, they get, all of these over-the-counter remedies. Typically.
Yes. And the only way you could check to see if you had COVID wasn't a test or a nasal test. It was your temperature.
Oh, right.
So when you have a high fever, just take some medicine and you go. So when we were being evacuated, everyone was keeping track of their temperature because that was the only way we could do so. For my group that was evacuated, because I was evacuated through the American side, my American passport, because of my dual citizenship, because we all were waiting, because I told my sister, since I was getting my PhD in politics, I told my sister we need to see what America does first, because the rest of the world will follow. As soon as they started evacuating their people and then they shut down the country, everyone else did the same thing. They evacuated their people from China and started to shut down their countries as well. So we were evacuated, and the first thing that I packed was my sketchbook and my drawing tablet.
Isn't that something? Sure, right? Yeah. Let's get the pens and pencils and the paper. Then we'll get that the final item, the passport. No, that just goes to show how passionate you are about what you're doing, and it's just so incredible. And what an endearing story of this school that you never even heard of or even existed, having your art. It's just, oh my God, the Wuhan love notes. I love it.
Oh yes, it's wonderful. It's very awe-inspiring, and even when I got evacuated with my sister and her child, and thankfully our group that we were evacuated with didn't have COVID symptoms.
Thank God.
To answer your question from before, yes,
right.
God. We were actually one of the first groups to be one of the first couple of groups to be evacuated. It was like a 12-hour to 14-hour evacuation process.
I can't even begin to imagine how stressful that must have been.
It's numbing. I remember being, when you go through an experience and you're just living through it, but you don't really acknowledge what's happening.
Yes.
It's like that situation.
Yes. It's unbelievable.
I know it happened, but what was I feeling then? Oh, I don't really remember.
Oh, I know, because you're it's like your system shuts down. I mean, I can think of plenty of stressful situations where, I don't even remember what happened. Because your body and your mind goes into flight and fight, and you're just, it's hard to connect. I mean, I think hard. Of, some situations that I've been in, I'm like, I don't remember. I just don't even remember. And because your body is in such a shock, and your brain is trying to take over, right, and give you like all the answers of what to do, how to do it, and I can't even begin to imagine all the stress. So what happened was you're on this scholarship, and then you wind up coming back to the States, and so what happens is everything on hold, and you can go back?
Well, I ended up losing the scholarship just because. Well, yeah, I was kind of sad. Well, I was sad. In the beginning, I was sad about it. But then when I came back to America, I really didn't have time to be sad or really to process my emotions, because I had to hit the ground running.
Sure.
I left everything back there. I even lost my apartment there at that time. And so the only things I had to my possession was the things I had in my suitcase. So I literally had to restart everything after being abroad for like 3 years. And so trying to find work was hard, because as soon as we came back in February, March, April time, America shut down. The world shut down.
Right.
And so I tried to find work online, and that wasn't really working. And then I remembered the children's book that I was still doing. And as I'm sitting there going through what I'm going through, I'm drawing at the same time, because even though it was work for a client, I was also healing myself through my artwork, because it was taking my mind off of the current situation, and it was also giving me some form of stability, and not some, but many forms of stability.
Sure. And so why did they cancel the schooling? Because I mean, it wasn't like you left or dropped out. I mean, there was no way that they could just put it on hold and you can do it online in any way. So all of that time you spent on the education, can it go towards anything ever again, or is it just kind of like?
It's like a pending process, because I still have my notes. I still have my thesis paper that I've worked on and everything. I still have that. Just that year I was supposed to graduate, but then the pandemic hit. And we didn't know when we would be allowed to re-enter China, because they had shut down all the flights to and from China at that time.
Right, yeah.
So there was really no way to gauge or to guess. And then we just didn't know what the process would be like to even get back into China.
Right, right.
So it was just a bunch of unknown. And so I just took a leap of faith, and I was like, all right, I know what's working for me now is my artwork. I'll just put my education on hold, because you're never too old to get a PhD. You're never too old to get any education.
You're never too old to do anything. I mean, look at some of the people that are so successful. I mean, I think it was Kentucky Fried Chicken. He didn't start his company until he was around 50, right? I mean, it's never, you know.
The logo.
Yeah. It's never too, it's never too late to do anything. 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. I mean, if you have something that you're passionate about, who cares how old you are? If you're passionate about something, then that's it. Then make it happen, and look at yourself. I mean, you wound up helping your friends, and look at it. Can you imagine, this all started by you helping your friends, and then next thing you know, you've got Wuhan love notes off in the foreign country with all these kids, praising you and thanking you, and the school and the teachers, and so grateful for your artwork. And isn't that something?
I could not have put a better plan together, and I never could have thought of it happening like this.
That's how life happens. I mean, I thought I was going to go down, a road way to the left of what I'm doing, and then someone's like, oh, you should do this or do that, and go on this interview and talk to this person, and next thing you know, it was like it was like a 180, and whatever's meant to be is meant to be.
Sometimes it's hard for us to accept that.
And you
can plan, but you can't. You can plan, but you can also plan for it not to go according to plan.
No. I get that. You're just me. And so now here you are. You're living in Las Vegas. And we spoke earlier about how we would love to have you come on our March 16th Healthy Minds. And I think that would just be such a really awesome story to share with everyone, just about how, the Wuhan love notes. And so tell us a little bit more about, what did the kids make in the love notes? They were talking about inspirational quotes and so on, I think what you said.
Yes, they were sending basically a love note to Wuhan, positive words saying, we're praying for you, Wuhan, and get better, Wuhan, and Jiayo, Wuhan, which is you can do it, Wuhan, you can do it, China. They were just cheering Wuhan on.
Being supportive.
Yes, they were being very, very supportive. These lovely little hearts were sending all their love to people from across the world that they didn't even know, hoping that they would be okay and do better. And I'm just so grateful and thankful that my art was able to do that. It's mind-boggling, really.
I'm thinking if maybe we could even do something at the workshop coming up where we do, I would obviously leave it up to you, but like Wuhan love notes, but instead of Wuhan love notes, maybe we can give it a different title, so to speak, and for the kids to make one, to inspire maybe other kids that may be having depression or anxiety, or they know someone who maybe is going through some difficult time of any kind.
I think that would be a great idea, because you never know who needs words of encouragement. You really don't. Just a kind word or something nice to say can really make a difference to someone's mentality and emotional stability.
For an entire day. Like we were just talking about this last night. We had a podcast, and, I was always saying that, I'll spend a few minutes out of the day just going through some of my friends. Hey, just thinking about you. Hope you're having a great day. Hope you're having a day as amazing as you are. And they're always like sending hearts back, but you don't know what everyone's going through. And one of my friends that I did send a message to was just had a really, really unfortunate experience going on that week. And she's like, oh my God, you sent that at the right time. And it was just me saying, hey, just thinking about you. Hope you're having a great day, with a little heart emoji. And she's just like, oh my God, thank you so much. And imagine just a text that took 20 seconds. You know what I'm saying? It's just always a thought. It's always a thought that counts. And I really do that a lot with my friends, quite honestly. And I just always want people to know that I'm thinking about them. They're in my heart. They're in my mind. And there's so many people that have made such an incredible positive impression on me through actions like that. And I always want to keep that up and continue to do that with people in my life.
Yes, and that's a wonderful thing to do. It's very wonderful.
Or just send flowers for the sake of sending flowers. It doesn't have to be a funeral or a wedding or a birthday or an anniversary, and it doesn't have to be anything expensive. Just something, just like, oh my God, wow, thank you. I think the element of surprise has a lot of power to it as well. But I think that would be a great idea for the workshop coming up.
Oh, yeah, that would be great. Let me sit on it and think about it some more, because I would love to do that again.
Yeah, and then they could and we have someone who's going to be doing some positive vision boards, and that are probably like notebook size, I meant to say, so they can keep it with them. So if they're ever having a bad day, they can look back and be like, wow, I was really having a good day that day. I've got all of this. I've got my little notebook size vision board that they can reflect on. Just like I'm sure all of these kids that had the Wuhan love notes, I'm sure they looked at those notes again and again and again for inspiration, and I'm sure it made them feel safe in a small way and amongst all the chaos, and inspired amongst all of the doom and gloom that was unfortunately happening around the entire world.
I think that's true, because when you do a good deed for someone, or when you do something nice, it also makes you feel good. And I've never thought about it like that before, where they would look back on those notes they sent to someone else as a form of encouragement for themselves.
Yeah, and then they're going to keep them for some might keep them for a day, some might keep them for a year, some might keep them for the rest of their life. Look at how you started out by helping your friends. You still have everything that you worked on, and they still have everything that you worked on for them.
Yep, external hard drive.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. And no, that's incredible. It's so inspiring to know that, like you thought you were going to go down this one road and a different path, and then you came across this passion in maintaining mental health through artwork. And it is such an incredibly healthy, creative outlet.
It is. And in a way, it also kind of like documents history at the same time.
Right. Oh, right.
it's really amazing. And I look back and I'm like, looking at the drawings I did when I was in one mental state versus the drawings I did when I was in another mental state. And then when I share them with people, they're like, I can totally see. And they love the story behind it too. It's always the story.
Can you bring those with you on the 16th?
Oh, the illustrations that I did during the time?
Yes.
Sure.
You know how you just said, I could tell the difference between, like, say maybe one day you were having the best day of your life and, it's all sunny and rainbows and unicorns floating around. And then on a day that you were struggling with some hardships or whatever, what that image looks like to show the youth and their families and everyone that comes to these workshops is just incredible. To show them how art is such an incredible escapism for people who are dealing with mental health issues.
Oh, yeah, I would love to share those images with them. I'd have to, let me share those images. I'm thinking about them now. That's why I'm like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, you can maybe just, you don't have to print them out for the whole, because there's typically a lot of youth and families that show up. But even if you just had, a copy of each one and just to show how much art really helped even, it sounds like it even helped you heal.
It did. It really did. It helped me to heal because I was not able to consciously heal myself, if that makes sense.
Right. Well, how could you? I didn't mean to say how could you, but during that time, the last thing you were thinking about was, I can't imagine there was so much chaos going on, then the world news and all of the heightened extreme panic that was going on. Because I remember even when, God, it was so long ago, and it was like, 54 people have COVID in our area. And I was like, oh my God, 54 people, and then it turned into 500 something, then 1,000 something. And I was like, oh, and then you get scared. I'm like, geez, you get scared. Should I leave my house? Should I put like 10 masks on? Like, and it's just been such a fearful, emergency state of mind for the past 2 years.
It's exhausting. It really is.
It is.
Exhausting.
It's so exhausting. And I'm like, I can't, the masks, I'm like, I have like masks in my house, my kitchen, my glove box, the side of the car, they're everywhere. I'm like, and it's just, then you forget your mask, and then you got to go back into the car to get your mask. And then, it's just, it really has been so difficult, but we've gotten through it. And, my heart goes out to my friends and family who haven't been able to get through it and have passed, and that's a whole nother level of grief and sadness and not really feeling like, what can you do? It's like, what can you do? It's just so hard because there's a lot of times that you're completely helpless, right? So you had these elderly people that were in their homes, and like you said before, the people had families were visiting from looking through a window. And who would have thought 2 years ago you'd have to look through a window to go to see your grandma or grandpa?
Yes. Who would have thought? And then the fact that you're right, it's true when he says, like, what can you do? And my answer was, I can draw. And
I love it. That
is true.
Yeah, and how many commercials did we see on TV where, someone was holding up an image or something from one balcony to another balcony, across the street, and it really does make a difference. The smallest things in life can make or break almost any relationship, and
it's true.
And those small things, those small acts of kindness could even save a person's life. Think about it. Think about everything that's been going on, and these kids are looking at the Wuhan love notes, or maybe they even copied it on, and who knows how many people they passed that idea on to. I'm sure it did not stop at that school.
I like to think it didn't, and I'm pretty sure it continued on in some way or form, and it evolved so much. And I just wanted to say to those out there who think that if you come up with some idea and you're like, it's not going to work, do it anyways and share it, because you never know who it's going to touch. You never know who needs it. Like, I thought I would just share it with my friends and put it online. I didn't know someone from across the world would see that and want to take their whole classroom and do that.
Well, think about it. I'm sure the teachers, well, you said, I mean, you didn't speak with the students because they're too young, but think about the teachers. The teachers must have been, teachers, they talk to their friends, their family, and the community. I would be willing to bet that this Wuhan Love Notes has been passed around to far more people than you can even begin to imagine. And it was just something you were like, hey, I want to do something nice. And look what happened. It has international, global ripple effect. I mean, how incredibly proud you must feel of yourself and happy to know that you had this idea that really helped and healed someone. Or not someone, several people, families. I'm sure these kids obviously shared them with their parents, right? So then their parents talked about, what they came home from school with. Then they talk about it with someone else. Next thing you know, your Wuhan Love Notes are affecting thousands of people.
I'm just so happy and glad that I was able to shed some light and hope during that really dark time. And that was the goal of the notes. I'm so glad I did it. Thank you for saying all of that. You just really put it all into perspective. I never really had a time to go back and think about it like that because with the whole stress and stuff, but the way you say it is so elegant. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
You're welcome. Well, think about it. Kids go home with their schoolwork, right? And the parents look at it, then the parents talk to their friends. You know how there is, Johnny did this at school. Oh my God, you're going to leave. Blah, blah, blah. The whole neighborhood knows about your Wuhan Love Notes. I mean, I talk about, think about when we were a kid and we brought schoolwork home. They put it on the refrigerator. People come over.
My mom still has that.
You know what I mean? Seriously.
God, it's from kindergarten. You don't have to keep it. She's like, I love it. It's the best.
Put it on the refrigerator. The refrigerator in all of our lives was like an award, a big award plaque.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Refrigerators. If something went on the refrigerator, it was a big deal.
It was such a big deal. They were like, look.
Right.
Look what they did.
Yeah. No, I remember putting something on the refrigerator because I just wanted everyone to know who stepped foot in my family's home that I did whatever it was that I double magneted. You put two magnets just in case so it don't fall, right? And no, I remember. Yeah, exactly. Right. No, I totally remember. But think of all the people that put them on their refrigerators. I'm sure there's thousands of refrigerators that are covered in your love notes, and so many people that go to visit their friends and family of these, the students that had these must have been like, wow, what's that? And they maybe, think of the people that maybe saw it and they're like, oh, geez, that's a great idea. Just what we're doing now. Look at this. We're talking about it, and I was like, hey, maybe we can do it at the workshop coming up. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So who knows how many people took your idea to help and heal other people?
My mind is blown right now.
Because now you're seeing the magnitude of your act of kindness and how it's helped and healed countless people. I love it.
I love it too. That's great.
When you think about things in a different way, sometimes, like you said, I'm just going to do this and I'm just going to do that, and and then look what winds up happening. And there's so many times where we think that we might be doing something and be like, well, whatever, and then you're like, oh, wait a minute. By the way, and then you wind up continuing going and going and now we can, maybe we could even use the love notes. We can find maybe a family that's in need of some kind, and we can dedicate the love notes to a certain family, or maybe an organization or something. Maybe we can even do the love notes for maybe the healing center or something.
Oh yeah, That would be great.
So maybe we can, I'm already thinking about how we can use your love notes to help and heal and inspire. I'm already thinking of like what we can do these for.
I am here to serve and to create.
And no, I love it. I love your energy. You're beautiful. Your artwork is so incredible. And we're going to be posting it on both Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Everyone's going to be hearing it. Thank you so much for all the listeners. And LaVana is just such a beautiful person. I mean, all the work you've done internationally, and it's just really incredible and been such an honor to have you on.
Thank you so much. I am definitely happy and so glad that you have your platform that the way that you do, and that you create a space for people to come and share their stories and to connect just like this. It's wonderful and it's beautiful. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So before we conclude, can you let the world know how to get a hold of you, reach you, email you, contact you, your website, everything?
Oh, yes, sure. So my Instagram and Facebook handle is Fangimation, so at Fangimation. It's like the word fang, like in your mouth, IMATION. And you can also send me an email at fangimationstudios@protonmail.com, and I'll receive all your messages through there. So any form of any form of social media like Instagram and Facebook works just fine. And also the wonderful website that Susan has.
Oh, wonderful. And then we want to subscribe. And it's at Spreaker, Spreaker, Spreaker.com. You can just type in Dr. Susan Feneck. And if you subscribe, then you're going to get a notification of every podcast we do. They're so incredible. I'm so blessed, and I'm just so blessed, and it's just been such an incredible experience to meet so many incredible people like yourself. And please subscribe and please donate. Your donations make the difference for everything that we're doing at Juvenile Justice Impact, and every dollar does count. And you can reach us if you would like to send us an email, juvenile, Juvenile, Justice Impact @gmail.com. You can check out our website at www.impactjji.com. You're always welcome to call us at 1-888-JJI-0010. And LaVana, thank you so much for your time. I know time is so valuable, and I appreciate the time that you took to share your incredibly inspiring story. And I'm so excited to have you at our workshop. I can't wait.
Yes, it's going to be so much fun. I'm going to spread the love. We all need it.
Yeah, and and then offline, you and I will come up with an idea of where we can give a group of people, like you did in Wuhan, your love notes, and maybe what we can do is we can have the kids, or the youth, I should say, we can just give them a very simple piece of loose leaf paper, and then we can put them in a big envelope and send them off and hand deliver them to whoever we feel like we would like to dedicate the notes to.
Oh, mail is the best like that. Oh, I love receiving mail like that. That would be so nice.
Yeah, let's do it. We're doers.
We're doers. We're going to do it. Yes.
Okay, LaVana, thank you so much. I really can't say enough about how much I appreciate your time and appreciate having you in our lives. And I'm just so blessed to have someone in my life. And thank you so much for all you've done over all of these years. And I can't wait to see you on March 16th at the Healthy Minds Workshop through Juvenile Justice Impact. And we'll make a nice little video while we're there, and we can send that out as well.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you too.
Thank you. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. Good night, and good night, world.
Yeah, right? Thank you so much.